Hey, what's up everyone? Ragey Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always. And today I'd like to just talk a little bit about the unraveling of the regressive stack. And I'll say right off the bat, few things in life are as enjoyable as watching a group who's been tormenting you for years fall apart and eat its own. I doubt this will ever get old, and to be honest is one of the few silver linings to NPCs temporarily, that being the key word, destroying our hobbies. They invade, take over positions of power, and if not checked right then and there, they force out anyone who doesn't agree with their line of feeling. Sad story, I know. It's like the repeating history of almost every hobby I have or have ever had. But what happens when all the wrong thinkers and so-called alt-right Nazis are pushed out? What do the professional victims do then? They need someone to be victimized by after all, so they just obviously attack the fans, right? Well, they sure do, but that's not nearly enough. Not to mention, no company can afford to attack the fans for very long before going broke. So the next logical, from their twisted view of logic, step after removing all of the privileged oppressors from the equation is to work their way down the regressive stack. Or up the stack, however you want to see it. When all you have left are members of the regressive stack, the least oppressed of the formerly oppressed groups loses its status as an oppressed group and will become the new oppressor. So take note, male feminist allies, everyone but you seems to know what's coming and will have no sympathy for you when you get what's coming to you. And either way, we're already seeing this right now in the comic book industry. Now, I've covered them a little bit already here and there, but right now, they're not only content to just attack the fans and indie creators wanting to create a parallel industry that focuses on fun instead of politics, but they have started eating their own a la Me Too. And for those of you who aren't aware and haven't been paying attention for the past few days, Eric Esquivel has been accused of sexual assault. And as expected, for the most part, the industry and shill media have stayed quiet about it. And if it was Ethan Van Sciver being accused, you know that's all they'd be talking about for days. But since this was one of their own, you gotta cover it up, right? Well, kind of. Unsurprisingly, they are trying to cover it up, but his book, Border Town, did indeed get cancelled and he is probably out of a job. Now, is this a harsh punishment for a mere accusation? In this case, not really. He is, after all, one of those always believe the victim types, so it's nothing but poetic justice to see him get destroyed by an accusation alone while he's completely discarding his principles and calling his victim a liar. So as much as I'm enjoying that and as funny as it is, the important part for you guys to pay attention to is that he is one of them. He's not an alt-right Nazi like us, although I'm sure he'll soon be accused of being one. He's not some filthy Trump supporter. He's a tried and true regressive that over the years has spouted all of their cliche talking points. And now he's the oppressor that's being taken down. Why, you may ask? Well, professional victims need someone to be victimized by, and this outrage and drama culture needs fuel to keep running. And since the comic book industry already ran out of everyone who's not regressive, they have no choice but to start feeding on their own. And so the regressive stack unravels, and the first to go are, of course, straight white male feminist allies. Oh, I can hear you crying out now. But isn't Eric Esquivel Hispanic? I mean, his name is Esquivel, for Christ's sake. He can't be a white guy. Well, I'll have you know, I've seen photos of this dude, and I'll be honest, if I saw him in the street, I would write him off as yet another white guy. And if he told me his last name, I'd assume his great-great-great-grandfather was probably Mexican and the whole family has been married to white people since. Well, either that or he married a Latina and took her last name. He is a male feminist after all. That isn't out of the question. But either way, point being, he looks to be about as Hispanic as Elizabeth Warren is Native American. And yes, I know a lot of Hispanics look like white people, for example those descended more from the Spanish line than the native South American lines. I have known my fair share of them myself after all, but I couldn't pass on making this joke, so leave me alone, alright? But getting back to topic, I fully expect to see more Pound Me Too and other allegations against so-called allies as time goes on, not just in comics, but any other industry that's been completely taken over by the NPCs. And now that I think about it, we've seen something similar, but not exactly the same as this before, right? Like with the gay rights movement. While it was first getting started, the other regressives attached themselves to the gay rights movement, and for a while, it was a fairly symbiotic relationship. These regressives did in fact help push gay rights, and in return, they rode the gay rights movement's coattails to success, and in a lot of cases, money. Oh, and the success especially. Once gay marriage was pretty much legalized all around the US and it became illegal to discriminate against someone based on their sexual preferences, the Regressives had a huge success on their record and a launch platform to move on to other things. But what happened to the gays after that? Well, let's just say they're no longer useful, and you even got openly gay conservatives seeing success now. So basically, if you're gay, you're among the privileged class now, and you're now being discarded. Well, if you're a gay man anyway, lesbians are still on the regressive stack, but gay men are no longer viewed as being oppressed, with a few exceptions. Hell, in fact, the regressives would sooner side with a much more, according to them, oppressed ideology that wants to kill gay men. An ideology so oppressed it includes about a quarter of the world's population. And runs quite a bit of countries too. But hey, don't let simple things like facts get in the way of your feelings. And we've seen this coming for a while now because gay men were always towards the bottom of the regressive stack. So seeing them purged is about as much of a surprise as seeing male feminists getting pound me too'd. The math behind this is simple. Whenever someone higher up the stack needs to score some professional victim points and there are no straight white alt-right Nazis around to blame, they will always punch down at the lower layers of the regressive stack. And when they do, trust me, I'll be there watching that dumpster fire with hot dogs ready to roast. And to those of you at the bottom of the stack that get popped off and fed to the wolves, you'll get no sympathy from me. The simple fact is you've participated in doing this same crap to the rest of us all this time, so now that it's happening to you, we're just gonna point and laugh at you reaping what you've sown. And that's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for listening.